Right. So we are going to talk about the blended learning and what we want to achieve during this session uh, is that the participants of this webinar will be able to explain the concept of blended learning clearly, create a balance between different methods used for blended learning so to achieve the desired learning outcome, and this would be our main objective or outcome today, and then use the existing teaching learning resources more efficiently and effectively in implementing blended learning. So these are three learning outcomes which we want to achieve today. The distance learning is not something new. It has been there here for more than a century, and the European correspondence courses were the earliest form of distance learning. The number of institutions offering web-based courses is increasing exponentially, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, and the Cambridge University has announced that all the lectures will be online until summer of 2021. So blended learning has to be in practice in almost all the educational institutions. What is blended learning? That's the first question we will be answering. The term blended learning is used widely, but not always consistently. Blended learning simply means combining traditional face-to-face teaching with digital experiences. So this word digital experiences is important when we are talking about blended learning. And combining the digital experiences may be live or may be recorded. It can be in the form of videos, animations, gamifications, or live communication. Different mixes can be involved. For example, blending online and face-to-face instructions. For example, the theory classes for clinical students which are posted at geographically different hospitals, the theory classes can be conducted online from the campus, and students can join these classes from wherever they are posted. So that is one example of blending online and face-to-face instructions. Blending instructional modalities, for example, outcome-based and integrated curriculum is a blending of two modalities. Or blending instructional methods using gamification in TBL sessions. We will have a short demonstration of this in today's session. It can be mixture of resources, for example, using CD-ROMs or videos, pictures, movies, etc. during a lecture. Or directly can be from the website. We can embed the links, for example, from YouTube in our PowerPoint slides. We can use books, ebooks, discussion forums, or even messages, WhatsApp and email in form of blended learning. Mixture of resources or approaches, for example, using constructivism along with the behavioral learning theory, or using traditional curriculum with problem-based learning curriculum. These are all examples of blended learning. A mixture of delivery methods, for example, face-to-face and online, or recorded lectures with live explanation. So we can see there are many different forms of blended learning, basically whenever there is face-to-face plus digital experience that fulfills the definition of blended learning. Now, blended learning can take place within the classroom, which I think most of us have been doing. Although in classroom, for example, using some videos or animations to explain some concepts. So that is a form of blended learning in the classroom, or it can be at a distance, for example, online. So concept of, in short, concept of blended learning is, as was mentioned even the first slide, that traditional learning plus digital experiences. It can be in the classroom or it can be online at a distance. Why we want to use blended learning? The one reason I mentioned earlier is the need of the hour because of the requirement of social distancing and restriction on the gatherings. But on top of that, there are a number of other advantages. Blended learning combines the strengths of both methods, face-to-face and digital experiences, and creates an engaging experience for learners. Use of videos and animations can enrich the learning experiences. Conditions that students may not be able to see in clinics can be shown through videos. Seasonal diseases, for example, measles, medical emergencies like status epilepticus or status asthmaticus. Many students may not be able to see these situations in real clinical practice, but using blended learning, using videos, these experiences can be shared. Animations can help clear the concept of, for example, osmosis organization is one. If you search on YouTube, you will find quite useful animations which can help in clearing many concepts. Using principles of adult education, blended learning allows a greater flexibility and responsiveness in the teaching and learning process. The integration of online instructions overcomes the limitations of time and space. This is very important. We are quite familiar with the problems of availability of classrooms or the capacity of classrooms. So these issues are very easily dealt with by blended learning. And also it supports instructional methods that are hard to achieve using textbooks and reach a larger number of students without increasing resources. So it is very cost effective in terms of implementation. The integration of technology into pedagogy and andragogy facilitates flexible, learner-centered teaching, encourages interaction among students and staff, and enables them to collaborate and communicate. We are all familiar with getting messages, WhatsApp messages from students. They are even asking some questions. So that is, again, using technology in our digital experiences in teaching and learning. Improvement in students' competencies, including reflective thinking skills and clinical skills. Even clinical skills have been shown to improve by using digital experiences. You might be familiar with these Stanford videos, quite useful videos available on YouTube, which can help in clinical experiences, demonstration of physical examination. Using a blended approach helps students to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Again, using animations and videos can help a lot students to see the link between theory and clinical practice. Having said that, we have to be careful. Although blended learning makes use of computers and the internet, focus should not be on the technology. The educator must first determine the best way to teach a particular topic and then determine how technology might enhance the teaching. So focus is not technology, focus is still the successful teaching learning activity and using the technology in the best possible way. Once the learning outcomes of the modules have been identified, the tools should be chosen that best facilitate the achievement of these outcomes. Do not change the content or outcomes to suit the technology. A successful implementation of blended learning in one domain does not necessarily mean that it will have the same value within another domain. Means that each course, even each session, uh, uh, may need a different mix of face-to-face and the digital experiences. Discovering the right balance is very important. It is important to have a right blend of the traditional teaching and digital input to keep the learners engaged and achieve the optimum results. Blended learning involves the mixing of several delivery techniques or methods. Now, proportion is important. How much face-to-face, how much digital experience, that would vary from session to session. Now, if you look at this table, the traditional learning and the modern learning and teaching, and then we can have number of different mixes in different proportions, from text to multimedia, from structured to open, teacher-centered to student-centered, on campus to off campus. So there is no fixed ratio. We can choose the best ratio which which might be very effective in terms of delivering the session. If you look at this table, it in the first column, it shows proportion of content delivered online, then is the type of course. In traditional curriculum, there is no contribution of online, whereas in web facilitated is actually using a web to facilitate face-to-face teaching. It is still face-to-face, but just taking some help for a better delivery. When it comes to blended or hybrid, that is where the right balance comes in. Courses that blend online and face-to-face delivery, substantial portion of the content is delivered online and typically uses online discussion. Most of the time, probably we would be in this range in blended and hybrid, whereas the next one is completely online and there's no face-to-face. So although we can have different proportions, but if you see in this, the third one, 30 to 79%, so there's a big range and the proportions can be adjusted accordingly. Preparing for blended learning. So first, one has to decide whether we want to have blended learning, what is the vision, what is the policy, and what is the alignment between the two. And based on that, there would be development of infrastructure, facilities, hardware, and resources. Then we would need development, the staff development, the student development, student support. We may have to have partnership with other institutions with IT departments, research and evaluation, and then looking at the VM again. This is what is called EDI model, which was developed by Center for Educational Technology at Florida State University for US Army in 1975, and then was later on used in education as well. So we analyze the need. For example, at the moment, we have a need for blended learning. Then we design our course, develop the resources, implement it, evaluate, and then analyze again. And in this cycle, we keep on improving our delivery of blended learning. Another model is another important aspect, community of inquiry, the teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence. Under teaching presence, there is an instructional design and organization, setting the curriculum, establishing time parameters, utilizing medium effectively, and establishing netiquettes. So then is the in cognitive, there would be exploration of knowledge, and social science, the interaction. So this is again a very, very useful approach, and actually a practical model to develop a blended learning, teaching learning based approach. Attributes for successful blended learning for the learner and the learning, teaching learning methods: motivation, personalization, feedback, relevance, relationship, discipline. And on the technology side, the mobility, structure, tracking and control, and the reduced cost and global reach. So there has to be blend of these two to have a blended, rigorous learning experience. This is a model developed by one of our friend, Husnan Zafar, and he has kindly allowed me to use this as an example. And this is using online teaching learning tools according to cognitive levels of Bloom's taxonomy. It's a very useful in the sense that we can see what digital experiences can be used in teaching learning methods based on the Bloom's taxonomy, from remembering to creating. For example, at the analyzing level, YouTube and Moodle can be used to achieve that kind of teaching learning. Similarly, for evaluating and teaching. So it is actually quite practical experience that if we want to use blended learning, what online resources can be used at different level according to Bloom's taxonomy. The ideal blended learning environment, there are advantages in person teaching learning where students can brainstorm together, learn from each other, and then practice the new skills. Whereas on online teaching learning, the advantage is that the students can learn at physically separated locations and can ask for help online. But the best would be the mixed mode, which is combining face-to-face with digital experiences. How to implement blended learning? Face-to-face, in this form, facilitator drives the instructions and augments with digital tools. So like in our face-to-face lecture, using digital tools, are rotations where students cycle through a schedule of independent online studying and face-to-face. So some sessions are online and others are face-to-face. Third possibility is most of the curriculum is delivered digitally and facilitators are available for support online and physically, and some tasks can be completed in recognized local facilities. The total online is another form where with possible check-in online live content. So these are four different ways of implementing blended learning based on the resources and the requirements. Tips to achieve the right balance, because that is very important to have a right balance between face-to-face and the digital experiences. First, analyze your audience, their level, their familiarity with online facilities, and what kind of resources they have. Analyze your content. Is it suitable for online delivery? Apply principles of adult learning, scaffolding. We will be talking about it in a short while. Balance the time between face-to-face and digital input, and combine formal and informal learning. Build on strengths of each medium use wide spectrum of digital options, encourage teamwork, and learn from the experience. So these 8-9 points can help us to achieve a right balance in our blended teaching learning approach. This is the zone of proximal zone of proximal development, which was presented by a Russian psychologist Vygotsky. And according to this, there are 3 zones or 3 levels of learning. Something which a student can learn at his or her own level, no need extra help. There is another area where they can learn with some help, and the third is beyond the reach. This is useful in creating a balance between different methods being used in blended learning. We don't need to teach what students can learn easily at their own, because it would be very boring for them. And if it is something which is beyond them, they cannot really learn that at that particular stage. That would be overwhelming. So the best area is the middle one, which is termed as zone of proximal development. And if you see, there are 2 interventions there: knowledgeable others, which are teachers, and then is the technology and tool. And here the students can be provided just enough help to learn that topic or to gain that experience. And that is where the term of scaffolding is used. Scaffolding is a process in which teachers model or demonstrate how to solve a problem and then step back, offering support as needed. Important is just the guide, not to do the things yourself. Just enough support, the level it is needed. The theory is that when students are given the support they need while learning something new, they stand a better chance of using that knowledge independently. Scaffolding refers to a variety of instructional techniques used to move students progressively towards stronger understanding and ultimately greater independence in the learning process. So message is help the student just enough for them to move forward, and then let them do the things in their way, while you are available to offer help whenever it is needed. And that is what this theory recommends. There are some challenges on online teaching learning. For example, role model is missing. Differences in time zone affecting online teaching. So if there are international students, so we have to find the right time which suits everybody. Who pays for online delivery? The students, they have to, for example, buy data plans, whether university is going to provide that or they are responsible themselves. Who chooses the delivery method? Because choice by a lecturer may not be appropriate for the student. Availability of computers, and if they are not available to everybody, can university loan the computers? Can they subsidize the price? Can loans be given to the students to buy the computers? And infrastructure, the internet facilities. Lack of access to non-verbal communication. Online, we cannot see the reaction of the students and their expressions. No direct monitoring. No student-involved inspiration for the lecturer. Many lecturers get the inspiration by the reaction of the students in the class, and which would not be available in online teaching. Lack of communication between the students. So these are some challenges which we face during online teaching. Now, blended learning can be used, or blended learning approach can be used in all of the theory delivering sessions, whether they are lectures, PBL, TBL, CBL. However, there are limitations when it comes to practical and hands-on demonstration. Now, for example, the online conduct of problem-based learning session, face-to-face and synchronous online tutorial group sessions are comparable in terms of process of problem-based learning. The first thing is that before the online PBL, the students should be made familiar to each other, maybe one face-to-face meeting, so they know each other. Identify the supporting sessions that can be delivered online. Reach on an agreement on rules for online sessions, and make sure the visibility and regular feedback in online sessions. The 4 key principles of student-centered learning in PBL, that is, the learning has to be constructive, has to be self-directed, collaborative, and contextual. All these attributes can be achieved successfully by conducting problem-based learning online. Next, conducting team-based learning. First, I'll go through quickly through the steps which are required when we do TBL on face-to-face, so that when I talk about online, we can compare the two. The steps are sequence of activity for face-to-face TBL session. The first step is advanced assignment for students to read and for lecturer to prepare 2 sets of questions. First set of questions addresses the comprehension level, whereas the second set of questions would be assessing the higher mental functions, application, analysis, and evaluating. The students are divided into small groups and their group leaders are identified. And then there is an individual readiness assurance test, which uses the first set of questions, which is mainly on comprehension. The fourth step is the team readiness assurance test is done, again using the same set again, but here the students are responding as a group. Fifth step is that we display the results of this team readiness assurance test, and then we discuss these questions and the lecturer would clarify some doubts or concepts on that. Then is the team application test, which is this use of second set, and then display of the results of this second set, and then of course discussion on the answers, and that's how the TBL is conducted in face-to-face mode. Now, if we want to conduct this online, so I will summarize again the steps. Pre-reading by students, preparation of 2 sets of questions by the teachers. Students answer first set of questions individually. Students discuss the first set of questions among themselves and answer the questions as a group. Students and teacher discuss the first set of questions and answers. Students are given second set of questions. Students discuss among themselves and answer second set of questions as a group. And then second set of questions and answers are discussed among students and the teacher. So these are 7 essential steps when we want to conduct TBL, whether face-to-face or online. Now we want to convert these steps to online. And for that purpose, we need to have 3 different softwares. You can use WhatsApp, and then you can use one of these gamification software, either Mentimeter, Kahoot, Socrative, or Quizlet, and then either Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Team. So I usually use WhatsApp, Mentimeter, and Zoom, these three softwares, in conducting this TBL online. So what we need to do is, the first step is same as face-to-face, advanced assignment for students to study, and the preparation of 2 sets of questions by the teacher at the same level. In second set, we create a WhatsApp group in which all the students and teacher is the member. So this is that's a large group WhatsApp. Then the individual readiness assurance test is conducted on Zoom and Mentimeter. I'll give us a little demonstration after this. So the first IRAT, our individual readiness assurance test, we need to use Zoom and Mentimeter. Next, students, after this first IRAT, the students would be divided into groups. They would go to their breakout rooms, which is a facility available in Zoom, and students would go, will be divided into these small groups, and they would choose their own leaders. Then you post the same set of questions, the first set of questions on the WhatsApp group, the LG group, so that each students receive the same set of questions. And then students discuss the questions in their breakout rooms and join back the main Zoom after fixed time. So in these breakout rooms, they can discuss and they have their own the sharing screen also, and you can also join any of these breakout rooms and see whether how students are discussing. And then team readiness assurance test. So the Zoom and Mentimeter. And then once the students come back, then we discuss the STRAT answers question by question, and teacher clarifies the concepts. After this, students would go back into their breakout room, and then they would have their the team application test questions posted on WhatsApp, and the same process would go through, and they would discuss in their breakout rooms and come back after a fixed time, and then the team application test is conducted using Zoom and the Mentimeter. So that's how the process is completed. Here now you please keep in your Zoom, but then go to this website. I'll just show you. Okay. This one. Can you see the screen? Right now,
Yes.
look at this.
Yes.
These questions. Okay. Now. Please go to this site, www.menti.com, and then enter the code. And then you will see the questions, and please try to answer those questions. Okay. Signs indicating presence of several severe dehydration due to acute gastroenteritis include. So you don't need to necessarily give the right answer. This is just a practice session, and see if we can do that. right? And this is the process which would be done using Zoom and Mentimeter, while either we are doing individual readiness assurance test, or we are doing team readiness assurance test, or we are doing the team application test. In all these three tests, this is the method which will be used. And you can even see that how many number of students have answered and how many number of students have given that particular answer. The only problem here in this is that we don't know the name of the students who are answering these questions. But if we use other methods like Socrative, I think, or Kahoot, we can identify the names of the students who are answering these questions. So this is the first. In fact, if we know this, we can use the individual readiness assurance test. We can use it for team readiness assurance test, and we can also use for team application test. Right? 27 people have responded so far. Yeah, 28. Right? So this is a demonstration, actually, how to use this software. And this, if you look at the level of the question, this is at the comprehension level. But if we, let's say, move on, after 35 people, 36 have responded. Let me move on to the next question, which is at the higher level. And that would be here. So the second question, and you can give the scenario as you can see here. A 15-month-old boy was admitted with diarrhea and vomiting of 1 day duration. On examination, he was restless and irritable. His eyes were sunken and anterior fontanelle was depressed. He was very thirsty and preferred to drink water than milk. So in this scenario, the students first have to assess the degree of dehydration and then identify the plan of rehydration which would be used. So this actually is application of the information they have learned in the previous. And as you see, the majority of people are responding for plan B, which is the right answer. Right? So the purpose of this exercise is to show how we can conduct the team-based learning session online. I have been conducting it for quite some time and students really love it. And they prefer to have teaching sessions based on this form of TBL rather than having lectures. Right, I'll stop sharing this and we will move forward to the rest of our session. Right, now next is the preparation of slides, or let's say PowerPoint slides for our blended learning. The first thing is that any lecture which has been prepared for face-to-face is not automatically appropriate for online purposes. We need to make certain changes. For example, when we are teaching face-to-face, our PowerPoint slides would have simply the points and we would explain in the class. But because we sometimes have interruptions and the sound quality may not be appropriate in online teaching learning, so the slides have to be more elaborate for those students who miss some points during presentation. So slides would sometimes have the details which otherwise we wouldn't be including in our presentation. Pictures, animations, and videos can be used liberally. Links, for example, YouTube can be embedded in the PowerPoint slides, like I had just this Mentimeter embedded in the PowerPoint slide. So the advantage is that we can run it from the source and we can avoid the copyright issues. Sounds can be added, like heart sounds or respiratory sounds. Live short interviews with experts from different fields can be added. Live interviews with patients can be added. So these are all advantages of online teaching. Now, coming to the assessment in blended learning, of course, if the teaching is blended learning, then the assessment has to be on using methods which are applicable in blended learning mode. Educators must establish the purpose of assessment, the criteria being measured, and the intended outcomes before meaningful assessment methods can be achieved. Online assessment must balance the requirement of technology, delivery, pedagogy, andragogy, learning styles, and learning outcomes. The open book or open web format has become more popular during this period, and that is a format where we can use single best answer questions or extended matching questions or structured essay questions. They all can be used in this format. Assignments, literature reviews, reflections, online OSPs or OSCEs, but with some limitations. And then the e-portfolios is again becoming a very useful tool in assessment during these restricted times. Now, how to engage students in online teaching? It is again a challenge. We should have a mutual agreement on time and platform of presentation. Quizzes during the presentations using multiple choice questions are different methods so that we can keep the students engaged. Gamification, we have been using different like Kahoot or Mentimeter or Socrative. In our experience, we find it useful to use different softwares at different times, because using the same software again and again loses its attraction. Small group discussion, breakout rooms like we talked about in TBL and is available in these softwares. Activities, small problem solving exercise, for example, calculation of fluids in the case of dehydration. So these kind of activities would help to keep the students engaged in the teaching and learning session. And try to keep the camera on as much as possible with all the limitations of the facilities, because that also helps in engagement of students. And getting student individuals off and on, calling students by name and asking their opinion also helps to get the engagement of the students. Right, I think that was my last slide, and I would be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you, Prof. Let me know, is there any survey how much this online session students like rather than the face-to-face session?
Okay, now I had conducted my own survey involving from first year to final year students. and the majority of students did like that, but not for all sessions. They are not in favor of conducting the whole teaching online, but some percentage of sessions, especially if, for example, I was talking about the clinical students being posted at different hospitals. And then for a theory session, they all have to travel back to the campus, which wastes time and energy and money. So those are very suitable situations where this blended learning can be helpful. I had a survey of the lecturers as well, and then they did also were in favor of some sessions to be conducted online. So actually the blended learning is probably going to be one of the favorite teaching methods in future. Some of the sessions online, some face-to-face, based on the situation. So generally, that's what I think I got about more than 500 students responding to that survey, and that was the conclusion. And our university is really so there's one question that parents and other persons who help to learner can be scaffolding. Yes, I mean,
Sir, there is a lot of noise. We can't hear anything at all.
Can please mute your mics, please. Everybody can mute your mic, and when you want to ask a question, you can unmute. So there's a question in chat that whether parents and other people can help in scaffolding. Yes, of course. If you see in that that diagram, there has to be somebody who is more knowledgeable. So whoever is there, their help can be useful. There's another question that in deciding proportion of blend, can we decide face-to-face for absolute essential part of learning like psychomotor skills and put all the rest online? Of course, psychomotor skills we cannot teach online. They have to be face-to-face with all the limitations and whatever methods we use, but psychomotor definitely cannot be online. The other, yes, mainly the theory sessions can be online, but still it would be useful to have some sessions. For example, when we are talking about problem-based learning session, it is very important that students know each other. So maybe there has to be 1 or 2 sessions where students interact with each other and they know each other very well, and later on the rest of the sessions can be conducted online. Somebody want to?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sir, my question is, as you said that in online teaching, we are not supposed to feed each and everything to the students. We should deliver the content only which we think that the students can't do it at your home. So, what's about the covering of the whole like content or the syllabus?
Dr. Iram, I couldn't hear the last part of your question.
Sir, my question is, if we deliver lectures only on those things which are which we think that the students can't do themselves, then what's about the course? Because the student says that our syllabus is not covered during online sessions, so that's why we are supposed to give each and everything during our online sessions.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. There are a couple of things. One is, I think it's not necessary that everything in the course should be taught. There are certain portions which are left for students to learn themselves. And then even in one lecture, as I said, you might need to help in certain areas and not the entire thing.
Right.
So this concept that everything in the curriculum must be delivered through lectures may not be the right concept. There are a number of areas which we leave our students to learn themselves. That is where we call the self-directed learning. And it's between the students and the lecturers to identify that areas they need extra help and they need explanation. The one way is, like I send you the slides, you send the slides to the students, they go through the topic, and then we have online discussion and answer the questions with whatever questions they have and whatever area they need help and explanation. So that is one way of doing it.
Sir, that means should we divide the content of the syllabus into two parts? The one part which the students are supposed to cover their self, and the other parts which they will deliver in lectures and tests.
Yeah, that is possible. In fact, in our log books, we divide the contents in different ways. One way is which is mandatory or compulsory. Other is optional, and in we do list out all the topics which need to be covered, but we may not necessarily cover all the topics in lectures. Some of them can be left for students to cover themselves.
Right. Sir, one more question. Like at the end of our lectures, usually students ask us to give us the recording of your lecture. Is it, should we give them our recorded lectures or only the...
Now, personally, I don't see any harm in that. If students want that record, and that helps them to go through that again as many times as they want. And in fact, that is a big advantage of blended or online learning. So I think that should be. Now, there's another question. Preparing slides, how do we make sure we have copyright? Now, preparing slides, how do we make we have? I'm not sure about that.
We can't hear you. I think everyone should mute their mics.
Can please mute your mics. Now, as come to the copyright, I'm not really sure about that. And honestly, I'm not really keen about that. The slides I have prepared, if students want to use and people want to use, it doesn't matter too much to me. But I'm not sure how we can actually copyright that. Second, how to ensure presence of students on time. I think it's not different than face-to-face. How do we ensure that students come to the class on time when we are doing face-to-face? That is a part of the discipline which we have to nurture, and we need to start the session on time. And important thing is that if students really appreciate the importance of the session, they know that they are going to learn something worthwhile, they would make every effort to be there. But this problem is in face-to-face as well. The third question is how to assess quality of teaching in blended learning. Probably the criteria is that how students perform in that particular area. And again, I don't think it is different than face-to-face. Like, how do we assess the quality of teaching in face-to-face? There would be a similar situation whether it is face-to-face or blended learning. The next question, how to control unfair means in IRAT and GRAT. Now, there is no unfairness in IRAT and GRAT. This is where there is a peer learning. If they are looking at the books, if they are discussing with each other, that's what the whole thing is about. The IRAT is that they answer individually, and in GRAT, they have to discuss with each other. And if they are, because remember, this is a learning session, TBL, team-based learning. It's a learning session, and if students are learning during that, with discussing each other, are looking at the literature during that limited time, I think that is what is a positive point rather than a negative point. In breakup sessions, because you give them a time, and of course the books are available to them, and the online facilities are available to them. So I think that's a positive point. If students are learning, you see, if you are taking the lecture, you are telling them those things yourself. And here they are learning the same things with their own effort. So I don't see any problem. And the basically team-based learning is learning from the peers, and that is to me is a positive point. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. I have just written my question over there, I think, but probably you missed it. It's regarding the TBL.
Right.
When you said that you've been using Mentimeter for the TBL session, the IRAT and GRAT, and
Right.
in Mentimeter, you wouldn't know that which of the students is responding or which group number is responding with what answer. Usually in the TBL, we then interact more with the students or the groups that are not giving the correct answer.
Right.
So how do you compensate for that thing here in Mentimeter when you don't know which one is answering what? And how would you compare that with the TBL?
Okay,
with
ma'am,
TBL?
if you really want to know the names of the students, you can use other gamification. You can use Kahoot, or you can use Socrative, where the student's name would be there. I prefer Mentimeter because my purpose is not really knowing that how students are performing. It's most of the time it happens that the students who have wrong answers in IRAT, in GRAT, most of them would be giving the right answer. So if you are really interested to know the name of the students, then better you can use Kahoot or Socrative, where the same functions can be done, but the student's name would be there. So it is your personal choice if you want to do that.
Excuse me, sir.
Sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Dr. Nazar.
Yes. Thank you very much for your interesting lecture. Really get much of knowledge from that. I want to ask about the, you said about structure essay questions.
Right.
How can you remark that questions, or how can you give the feedback for each individual student? If you have a large number of students, you know that most of the colleges have a larger number of students in each year.
Right.
So how we can deal with that? Thank you very much for that.
The one we were talking about is the essay type of questions if we want to use in examination. And that can be done online. Can it be open book, or there are other software, for example, ExamNet can be used. Now, when it comes to feedback, and if you want to give the individual feedback, obviously the essay questions we have to mark individually. So by that time, we would know that just a second. So when we mark these papers, we would know who are the students who are not performing well. And that is a downside of essay type questions, because you have to mark it manually, and there is a huge workload. So in that case, when we are marking individually, we can give feedback to individual students. So that's the only answer to that. Other is that if you can give an overall feedback, not looking at the individuals, but we can say, okay, these are the common mistakes which were made by the students, and these are the right way of handling it. So it can be a collective feedback. If students are a huge number of students, as you are mentioning, and if it is a limited number of students, then we can give feedback on individual basis. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Manahil Fatima, please. Can't hear you.
I have unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Can you speak a bit loud, please? I can't hear you. You can write your question in the chat.
Okay, sir, I will write it down. Thank you.
Kanut Tariq has a question. Can you please? What is the question in the chat?
Assalamualaikum, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Sir, my question is, usually we have a class of about 50 students.
Right.
And because of the lockdown and quarantine and everything that's going on, students are not allowed on campus.
Right.
Which is why we're doing all these activities.
Right.
You know, since we have to prepare students for exam, their university exam, so what is the best software that we could use to ensure that every student is doing well? How do we ensure? Like, for example, the Mentimeter software, it doesn't include names, and then you said there are alternatives.
Right.
But is there like one software that we could use to, you know, which is like easier for teachers as well and for students, and we can ensure that they're performing well without, you know, copying answers from each other, or, you know, there's any kind of glitch in the system?
Are you talking about teaching? Are you talking about assessment?
Testing, assessment.
Yeah. Actually, in assessment, we had a session previously. There are a number of these softwares available, and they are quite effective, and the control of cheating control and the is done very successfully in number of softwares. Of course, each software has its own positive and negative points, but in fact, in assessment, the proctoring has been included in number of these softwares, and again, it depends what kind of questions you are using. For example, if it is essay type questions, then ExamNet is one which is very simple and easy to use. But if you are using, for example, the multiple choice questions, then you might have to use different softwares where even the facility is there to automatic marking as well. So you have to just juggle around and find the right software available to you. There has been a lot of discussion on this open book assessment, which of course, if the staff is familiar and student is familiar, that can be useful for clinical years, where and especially using structured essay questions like modified essay questions. And it has a lot of advantages of conducting modified essay question online, because you can include pictures, you can include videos, you can so many things can be incorporated in that. So I'm afraid there is no single software which I can mention that can meet all the requirement. We have to actually juggle around and find the one which most suits us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Right. Any?
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sir, my question is also regarding the TBL.
Right.
In TBL, otherwise in conventional TBL, we don't have team leaders. But
Right.
I think for online session, we have to have the team leaders just to display or to put up the results, to answer the questions and everything.
Yes.
I want to ask it.
Yeah, no, just answering that part. When we divide the students into breakout rooms, so in each breakout room, let's say there are 5 students, so they are asked to choose their spokesperson or leader. So it's done very easily within them in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, in team application round,
Right.
what I'm thinking that the team leader is going, the students are going to answer that question.
Right.
Usually it is done with the flashcards and they do it simultaneously.
Right.
But now they have to submit their responses.
Right.
So they can't see each other's response. This
Right.
is what my understanding is. So, but as a facilitator, you get to see all the responses.
Right.
So now, when you are asking students for the justification of their answer or discussing that question, so what I think is that the team leader will be the most dominant person to answer the question. So how are you going to engage other students who, because we have a class of 150 students. So usually when I do it with a conventional method, so I can see them and I can just point out any student of my choice, whether they are contributing to the process or not. So how are you going to engage the other students who are not team leaders, but they are there attending the session, but due to 150 class of 150 students, I can't just see them and pick them team 1, team 2. I can just ask them, okay, any representative from the team 1. And what I'm guessing is mostly it would be the team leader or the person who's usually answering in the class would be the one who will be giving the answer.
Dr. Shirza, thank you very much for that point. It's very important. Actually, what I do is that when they come back for the team answers, I ask the names of the team leaders. Right?
Okay.
And,
right.
The whole class is involved in that, but I would be asking questions to other students rather than team leaders.
All right, right.
So once the team leaders have responded, when it comes to explanation, I usually don't ask the team leaders because I have a list of the team leaders with me. And then, in fact, at that time, I ask them everybody to switch on their camera. So they are in this mode, so we can see. But I can understand your problem. Your class is really too big, 150. And if you are having 5 students in a group, so there would be 30 groups. So there is a little bit of difficulty there. But generally, I ask the other members rather than the group leaders to explain their answers. The other drawback which you mentioned is right, because here the students can see the response of other groups.
Yes. Yes.
You cannot hide, but if we create not a competitive atmosphere, it's more a friendly atmosphere, and we encourage the students to stick to their point. I think they do want to express their point of view. So let's make it not an examination kind of situation where students want to copy each other, but let's make it a debate or a discussion where students—
a healthy discussion.
Yeah, students feel free to express their opinion.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Can summative examination?
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam.
Sir, I'm Dr. Sajid from Pakistan Rawalpindi Medical University. My question is, sir, during this process of breakup rooms, is facilitator watching all the rooms activity, or whether he is not unaware of the activity going on in all the participants?
No, actually, Prof, you can, what I do is that I move from room to room. The software gives you a facility, and you can join and leave any group whenever you want to. And we have been actually enjoying this facility when I quietly enter one room and I see the students, they're discussing among themselves, and sometimes they don't realize that I'm there and watching them. And my personal experience has been quite encouraging. I see the students discussing with each other and very logically. And that's why I really feel quite comfortable in doing that. So yes, you can join any group for any length of time you want.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I am a professor of anatomy. I am from Bangladesh. I am working in a public medical college. So in this pandemic situation, we are facilitating online classes, but I find some facilities while taking Viva exam, because you know, in anatomy, while taking the Viva exam, we have to use cadaver, viscera, and model. So, sir, please, can you suggest me how can I overcome those? That means the use of cadaver, model, viscera.
Madam, we know that online, of course, there's a lot of limitation, and what we can use is the diagrams and the pictures only. So we cannot use the real cadavers there. So that is the limitation. So we have discussed this previously also, that the other, in fact, the other question was that somebody said that the students might share the questions of Viva with each other. So that is another problem. So point was that the multiple examiners should start Viva at the same time, so that there's a limitation of sharing the questions with each other. But unfortunately, we have to rely on the pictures and movies, videos. I think videos might be a lot help in this situation, showing the videos and asking questions on that. There is, you can easily, for example, if you in anatomy, you want to show the histology slides, you can show that very easily. And you can have Viva on that, or even OSPI on that. So I think with, of course, this cannot replace face-to-face, but there is a lot which can be done through this mode as well.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable answer.
Yeah, the question is about clinical skills. Again, now what we have been doing is, I mentioned about the Stanford videos. If you search on the YouTube, there are quite useful videos on clinical methods, which students can watch and practice. Otherwise, of course, clinical skills cannot be taught online. It has to be hands-on. Some situations, for example, in Malaysia, now we have been allowed to bring students back to the hospital, but in very small number and under strict control. So we have already started teaching students in the hospital under this situation. Of course, the clinical methods cannot be learned online. So there is a limitation there. I think that brings us, I have a couple of slides to share with you after this. Let me show that one. The first slide is about our next session, which would be held on 23rd of August, objectives to outcomes, and the timing would be the same like this one. So we will be sending the registration invitation. Please keep looking in your groups. And the second one, like last time, I propose to each participant to donate $1 USD or equivalent amount in your local currency to any deserving individual in your neighborhood or any public welfare organization in your community after attending every webinar conducted from this platform. We have been proposing this and requesting this, and I hope members can oblige on that. With that, I thank you for your attendance and hope to see you soon, inshallah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was very great.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It was really a wonderful presentation and this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Alamsher. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Very much, sir.